Hello, and welcome to the Walter Bosley channel again. And today's show should be pretty interesting, folks. I think that you're going to find what I stumbled onto in my esoteric analysis of the attempt on Donald Trump's life this past weekend. It was unexpected what I found. And I wanted to share it with you. And let me, I forgot to grab my water that I poured. So I'll be right back. Going to grab some water. Okay. All right, folks. Pardon me for that little break there. I forgot to grab my water. And anyway, welcome to the Walter Bosley channel. I want to share with you some information that I stumbled upon over the weekend, in which I found what appears to be a Mars connection to the attempt on Donald Trump's life last weekend. Now, let me tell you, this is not a political show. I'm not here to discuss the politics of whether anyone, whoever likes or dislikes. I'm not discussing the campaign, none of that. I'm here today to discuss esoteric weirdness, connections, synchronicity with the attempt on Trump this past Saturday. There are some very, very interesting things. So let's get right to it. I want to welcome everybody in the live chat. In the interest of getting right to it, I won't go through the names, but I see you all there. Thank you. And thank you for being here. And those of you who aren't in the live chat, thank you also. So there we go. Now, what did I find? Well, some very interesting things that indeed popped up. Let's go to an interesting image. Okay, now you all have seen this. Okay, this was the image the day it happened, and this is all over the place. I will say, as a former federal agent, I can identify that individual to the left under his elbow probably one of the most incompetent protective service operation agents that I have ever seen, no matter where you stand politically. This was from the perspective of a former federal agent who has participated in multiple protective service operations, or PSOs, where we protect a principal like this. I understand how these things work, and I've been involved with them. And this was, wow, this was just dismal to see how the Secret Service handled this or mishandled it. And that may have something to do with the kinds of things we're going to talk about today. But as you can see, there's the now famous image of Trump holding his fist high, holding his hand up. And this has bearing on what we're going to talk about. And when I show you, I think you're going to find it really, really interesting. Now, just prior to last Saturday, okay, oops, sorry about that. Uh-oh. Okay, I got to go over here and open something up again. Let me, there we go. How about that? Let me go back here so I can get this image for you. Now, in the Times of India, last week, it was reported that NASA had reported a 100-foot asteroid, kind of small as things go, but it doesn't need to be gigantic to be destructive. A 100-foot asteroid was to pass extremely close to the Earth at 47,921 miles or kilometers per hour. And this was supposed to happen on Saturday, the 13th of July this year, just the other day. Now, no pun intended, but I found no other mention of this. But just before coming on the live stream here, I saw a report that there was a huge boom sound over New York City just moments ago, a little while ago. And NASA said it was a meteor. Isn't that interesting? Just to note. But what's very interesting here is NASA announced this. It was reported in Times of India, but I couldn't find very many other reports, local, meaning from the U.S., about this near pass of an asteroid, okay, on Saturday, 13 July, 2024. No pun intended, but it looks like what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, eclipsed this expected celestial event on that day. And so this really got my attention. What the heck? What the heck did this mean? Oh, by the way, on the 13th of July in the year 1527 AD, John Dee was born. Isn't that interesting? Saturday was the almost what? The 497th. No. The 503rd. No. I'm getting my math. Almost 500 years, 497 years anniversary of John Dee's birth. Now, who was John Dee? For those who don't know, John Dee was the court. He was an advisor to Queen Elizabeth. Okay, Queen Elizabeth I, and he was a mage, an occultist, you name it, an Enochian magician. He was a spy runner, everything. It's really interesting that Saturday, the the event was on, the anniversary of John Dee's birth, and NASA was concerned about an asteroid doing a near pass to Earth. I tried to find any reports on this near pass of the asteroid on Saturday, but I found nothing. Again, probably because of what happened. Now, remember, as other people have pointed out, the attempt happened at 6:11 local time. Well, flip that around, it looks like 9:11. So that's an interesting thing, but that's not part of what I'm talking about today. But it is interesting. Now, so this got me on the NASA track with Saturday's events, and I also discovered that the NASA space station, the ISS, I think it is, it passes over, the globe every day. People can see it. But what's interesting is it was visible in Butler, Pennsylvania, where the Trump rally was taking place at a given time. Only I couldn't find what time the ISS was visible. I went to the NASA site, and they only keep the closest upcoming sighting over any given spot. So in other words, it was a day later, okay, that I discovered this, or a couple days after, and they had already taken off the time of day on Saturday. So if any of you can find what time the ISS, the International Space Station, was visible over Butler, Pennsylvania, on the day of the attempt, of the event on 13 July, let me know. I'd be really curious to know if it was visible at the time that the rally was going on. But it was indeed visible. Now, here's something very interesting. Let me pull up another picture here. I think there we go, Mars. Okay. There's a town halfway between Pittsburgh and Butler, Pennsylvania, where the rally was, called Mars, Pennsylvania. Okay. And it was named in 1882, and no one knows why. It's curious, it's interesting, but the source I saw said no one actually can identify why they changed it from, I can't even remember what the name was, but it became Mars, Pennsylvania in 1882. Now, another interesting thing about this is Trump went to college in Pennsylvania as well, at the Wharton Business College, right? And you guys know that in the book that Todd Wood and I wrote, the Ingersoll Lockwood mystery, we talk about the interesting connections between the founder of that Wharton Business College and some of the weird occult Lockwood stuff. So, there's that in Trump's background. But in looking closer at the Mars connection, okay, I found this. This is Mars Ultor. Now, Augustus Caesar was responsible for this statue, bringing this up, because Mars Ultor means Mars the Avenger. Now, that's the god Mars, the god of war and conflict, okay? And he avenged, Augustus Caesar avenged the assassins of Julius Caesar. He avenged Julius Caesar's assassination, okay? So in this battle, the assassins, some of the assassins of Julius Caesar were killed, I believe, defeated. And isn't that interesting? Mars Ultor avenges the assassination of Julius Caesar. Look at the position of Mars Ultor's arm and hand. Now, let's go right there. Isn't that interesting that Donald Trump is kind of striking a Mars Ultor pose? Ari Bavel, visible. 12:53 a.m. was when the ISS, Ari Bavel, is that, I'm assuming that's when the ISS was visible, 12:53 a.m. What's interesting is all the other times of day on the other days are like 4 in the afternoon, 5 in the afternoon, closer to 6. But anyway, going back to this image, as you can see, there is Trump striking kind of a Mars Ultor pose. Let's see if I can go back to that. Oops. Oh, well. Sorry, folks. I keep, I guess, accidentally closing things out. I apologize. Okay. Let's go to this. Again, there's the Mars Ultor pose. Similar. Now, yeah, the hand is turned in because the idea is that he's holding a rod or a spear, but not in that image. The image looks like, holding a hand with a fist. Okay, and it's the defeat of the assassins is what Mars Ultor represented. I find that real interesting. I don't know about you guys, but there we go. See? There we go. So, what in the heck was going on here? Was this, truly planned by someone? Were elements of it planned? Or are we looking at the stranger nature of synchronicity? Now, I have something to say on that. I have learned over the years that let me go back. When I first walked into the world of overt synchronicity, when I was researching and investigating the Empire of the Wheel mystery, I immediately thought, oh my God, all of this is planned. All of this is planned. And then with time, the more experience, years after years of experiencing the nature of synchronicity and these weird things, I began to take a different look at it, a different view of it. And I started seeing that, wait a minute, what we might be seeing is the fabric of reality. In other words, things have a way of repeating themselves. What was it Mark Twain said? History may not repeat itself exactly, but it rhymes, right? I think that's what he said. It rhymes. Well, what we're seeing here is the rhyming of this Mars Ultor having and its connection to the assassination of Julius Caesar in ancient times. The symbolism here is that Trump himself, the target of this attempted assassination, is taking the position of Mars Ultor. Yeah, Ultor. I'm sorry, Ultor. Trump himself is projecting Mars Ultor. The shooter didn't get him, so therefore he triumphed, which is what Mars Ultor was to Julius Caesar. Okay, now this. I don't want to stop sharing. I want to. Okay, I want to take you back to the image of Mars Ultor. Before I do that, though, let's take a look at the battle image. Okay. Let's go to share screen window. Here we go. Now see this? Okay, this was the Battle of Carrhae. I think is what that says. Carrhae. This is the battle in which the Augustus Caesar saw the defeat of Julius Caesar's assassins. Now that's a pretty typical, strategic battle layout. You see, you've got your units over down there at the bottom. You've got your main area to the left and things over to the right. Now, what I find interesting about this, no, it's not an exact match, but there's the layout of the Butler, PA event. Okay. As you can see, now let's do a different. Now, where did that go? Okay, there we go. Over here, as you can see, you've got where the individual crooks was over here. Okay. You've got positions over here, defensive positions over here. You've got the main body of the, the unit right here. Okay. And then you've got the opposition over here. Okay, so there we go. See, you're looking over to the left is where the main, body is. Down here are more positions. I'm not saying it's exact. What I'm saying is it rhymes. It's interesting how we have this map of this battle and how it does kind of rhyme with, the setup of, Butler, PA. So, and there's Trump striking his Mars Ultor pose. He's triumphed over the attempted assassin. There's Mars Ultor. See? It's symbolism, folks. It is symbolism. Okay. So, what exactly are we to think of this? How much of this is simply organic synchronicity? How much of this is the symbolism and the threads of big events recurring? Think of it as a tartan. Okay, you guys know what I mean. A tartan, the kilts in Scotland, right? They have particular patterns, and in the patterns, motifs repeat themselves. That's the nature of a plaid. Okay, time and events are a tartan. They're a plaid of synchronicity, of threads of the axis of circumstance interwoven with the vectors of desire, and that creates a plaid. All right, and what we're seeing here, possibly on Saturday, the 13th of July, is the repetition of the motif in this particular tartan plaid fabric. is one way I can put it. But we had, on that day was supposed to be a near pass of an asteroid to the Earth. On that same day, the ISS passed over, visible to residents in Butler, therefore visible to residents in Mars, Pennsylvania, because Mars is just halfway between Butler and Pittsburgh. Okay? Interesting that Pittsburgh has a coming together of three rivers. That's why the Pirates Stadium is called Three Rivers Stadium. The Allegheny, the Monongahela, and I think the Ohio. I've always liked those river names. Allegheny, Monongahela. I like that. The Monongahela. Three rivers. There's three. Now it's where three rivers come together and intersect. Who does that sound like, folks? Hecate, perhaps? And can somebody tell me if Three Rivers Stadium is round like a wheel? You know, I've been there once when I was a kid living in West Virginia in the mid 70s. We went to a Cincinnati Reds Pirates doubleheader. And about halfway through the first game, I think it was, somebody pissed off somebody and both teams cleared the dugouts and there was a huge brawl on the field. Look that up. It was either 1973 or 74, I'm thinking. But I was there at that game. Huge brawl. You know, I think that was the one where Pedro Borbon bit some guy, and I think Pete Rose had a guy in a headlight lock. It was just beautiful. Grown men, you know. But anyway, you know, think of the symbolism, you know, of the area. Think of the other weird things about Pennsylvania. Think of the Amish and their barn hexes. Think of the nasty dark stuff related to Penn State and the coach who was involved with what he was involved with, Jerry Sandusky. And you know, not everything in Pennsylvania is bad and evil. I'm not saying that, but Pennsylvania is very much a place of esoteric weirdness and some dark secrets. Okay, there's people that have tried to uncover things having to do with the Franklin scandal connected to Pennsylvania, and they've disappeared. Okay, so what the hell exactly is going on in Pennsylvania? And bringing it back to the event of Saturday, what exactly is going on with this symbolism? Okay, this direct Mars symbolism with the god Mars, okay, and this Mars Ultor pose, right? Of the hand, the arm raised. And look, this is interesting no matter how you feel about Donald Trump. We're not discussing politics here. I'm not getting into that. You know, whoever likes, doesn't like. This is a discussion on observable oddities about this. And I've seen some interesting things pointed out about it already, but I haven't seen this anywhere. Again, if you're just logging in, last week in the Times of India, there was a report that NASA was concerned about a 100-foot asteroid that was going to pass extremely close to the Earth at 47,921 kilometers per hour on Saturday, 13 July 2024, the day of the Trump rally in Butler. It was also the 497th anniversary of the birth of magician and sorcerer and spy master John Dee, who served in the court of Queen Elizabeth I. The NASA reported that the ISS, the International Space Station, which appears over Butler every day, appeared, you know, also on Saturday at a given time, but also was visible from Mars, Pennsylvania. Mars, Pennsylvania being in Butler County, halfway between Butler and Pittsburgh. Okay, Mars, Pennsylvania was called Overbrook. I thank you in the live chat for that. I saw that. And the name was changed in 1882, and nobody knows why. At least in the sources I looked at, nobody knows why it was changed to Mars, Pennsylvania. Also, I see in the live chat, yes, the shooter was in a BlackRock ad. Isn't that interesting? Think of the rotten shenanigans that BlackRock is involved in, and there's the shooter connected to that. Now, to get back to the recap for those who may have just tuned in, so to speak, what does Mars Ultor, the god Mars, Roman god Mars, otherwise known as Ares, have to do with all of this? Well, Mars Ultor was the god invoked and the statue commissioned by Augustus Caesar when he went after the assassins of Julius Caesar. Okay? And Mars Ultor, the statue, represented the victory over the assassins of Julius Caesar. And as you saw, Mars Ultor was in this pose. Okay? Now, remember what I showed you. Look at that. There's Donald Trump after the attempt, bloodied, standing there before the crowd, raising his arm and his fist like this in the pose. He has, what we could say, he has triumphed over the attempted assassination, over the shooter, much like a Mars Ultor pose. So here we are in Butler, near Mars, Pennsylvania. All right. And there's supposed to be a celestial event that day, a extremely close pass of an asteroid, 100 feet wide, they said. Interesting that 100 is one of the numbers of Hecate. Okay. It is a number associated with Hecate. 3 being the other one. And Pittsburgh is not far from Butler. And it has 3 rivers coming together. All right. So isn't this interesting? What does this mean? What is the, and of course, remember, Trump went to college in Pennsylvania. What does this mean? Is it just synchronicity? Or did somebody arrange as much as they could and let the weird nature of reality take over from there? Now, somebody got me the Three Rivers. Thank you, Karen Carpenter. Three Rivers Stadium is indeed a circular bowl, and it's at the confluence of the Ohio, the Monongahela, and the Allegheny Rivers. I'm pretty sure I got the 3 rivers right. A wheel, a round bowl or wheel near an intersection of 3 rivers. Folks, that's Hecate symbolism. That's Hecate symbolism. Interesting that the team is the Pirates. Now, think about the Masonic history of the pirates of the Atlantic and the Caribbean and the South Atlantic. Okay, they were Masons. They were Templar connected too. Remember, the North Atlantic and South Atlantic piracy in the classic age of European pirates was started by the Templars. Okay, and they specifically targeted the ships of the 5 nations of the Catholic Church, in Europe. The 5 European nations that were Catholic, they would target their ships. So piracy has a Templar connection, and the Templars totally have a Hecate connection, and that's reflected through the Black Madonna stuff. So look, folks, what happened last Saturday totally has occult and esoteric and arcane, whatever words you want to use in that vein, associations. And we have to ask ourselves, what is the objective of, if this were set up, if this were guided by somebody? The obvious answers would be, trying to capture the energy of victory, of winning, of, being invincible, right? Kind of the ultimate, more than just a power tie, right? Isn't this very interesting? Again, look at this. There's Mars Ultor, who Augustus Caesar commissioned, okay, to symbolize the victory over Julius Caesar's assassins. Look at the pose. This is an ancient statue from the days of Augustus Caesar. And then look at this. Mars, Trump in the pose. He's near Mars, Pennsylvania, the town called Mars. There's Mars Ultor. I mean, I don't know what more I can say to point this out. So that's what if you've missed any of this, if you just come on, you missed any of it, rewind and you'll see what I presented. But I do think there's some serious esoteric stuff going on here, big time, in this. And I don't know yet exactly what to conclude or think about it. It's just there. It's an observation. Maybe studying what happened after the Battle of Carrhae, after the conquest, the vanquishing of Julius Caesar's assassins, is there going to be a reflection of that, a rhyming, if you will? So you'll have to make of that what you will. And I know I'm going to try. I don't know. Look, when I was researching, investigating the Empire of the Wheel stuff, and I was exposed to what I was exposed to and experiencing and finding what I was experiencing and finding, it changed my life. It changed my perspective on things. And, when you start seeing this kind of thing, you cannot unsee it. Okay? And it has nothing to do, again, I want to stress, this has nothing to do with where you stand on Donald Trump or the politics of it. I'm not getting into the politics of this here. Okay. These are just observations having to do with a major historical event, whether you like the guy or not. Okay. And when you look at these strange things, now here's what's interesting. As I said, for those of you who are new here and don't know my background, I am a former federal agent. Okay. And I have personally served on what's called PSOs, protective service operations, kind of like it's what the Secret Service does. Okay. And yes, as I commented earlier, this was one of the biggest cluster Fs I have ever seen any federal agency do. This, what happened out there, it was just ridiculous. Now, the fact that the shooter was within 125 or 150 yards of the principal, that somebody let that happen. Okay, but that, I'm not here to analyze the failure of Secret Service management and operations, but I am acknowledging, as a former federal agent myself, that was, really awful. But did it happen just because of incompetence, bureaucratic incompetence? Or was there something else in the mix, something weird in the mix that we find synchronicity flowing through? Again, you've got the proximity of Pittsburgh with the symbolism of Hecate in Three River Stadium, a round wheel next to the intersection of three bodies of water. Oh, wow. A river is one of the most common metaphors for time, right? The flow of time, the flow of the river. And Hecate, she controls, access to the flow of time. Watch some of my other videos and read some of my books if you're new here and you haven't heard me talk about that and explain that. So she's right down the river, so to speak, you could say, or right down the road. And between Hecate, symbolized by Three River Stadium at the confluence of the three rivers, between Butler and Hecate is Mars, Pennsylvania. So to get to Hecate, to get to Pittsburgh, specifically the stadium from Butler, you've got to pass through Mars. What the hell? In my mind, that's what the hell. That's some serious symbolism there going on. Okay. And, I got to keep analyzing it. And, as I get more possible answers, I'll share it with you. But for now, this is kind of this part of the episode is shorter this time because I just wanted to share these details and facts with you. So now I will go to questions from the live chat. And please, folks, stay on topic. I'm going to say this nicely. I am not going to answer questions unrelated to today's topic. Please respect that, okay? Also, all capital letters, all caps. If you want your comment acknowledged or your question answered, all caps, okay? Because there's a lot of side conversations in the live chat. I want to make sure I know you're talking to me or asking me a question. We've got a great turnout here, and those of you who are here, don't drop out just because it's question time, because more information can come out of these questions. So, Megalith asks, Megalithic Yard is the full name for our friend. Has anyone done an astrological chart for the attempt? I didn't look that up. I haven't checked it out yet, but that would be interesting to know, definitely. Ari Bavel comments about Shanksville, Pennsylvania, Flight 93. What is Shanksville near this area? Okay, now, Karen Degenhart asked more about the asteroid. Was it heard near the Statue of Liberty? No, but I'm glad you reminded me. Earlier, I mentioned, before coming on live here today, I just learned about the meteor that boomed overhead up above the Statue of Liberty. Okay, that was a meteor that passed through real close to New York City and boomed. A loud boom. Everybody heard that. That was a different celestial event. So isn't it interesting that we have NASA last week releasing a statement that a 100-foot asteroid traveling at 47,000 kilometers per hour would make an extremely close pass to the Earth on 13 July 2024, just this last Saturday, the day of the Trump rally. Okay. And you can look at you can find that report in the Times of India and a few other sources outside of the US, which I find really interesting. So we had this near pass of the asteroid, and I haven't found any mention of this asteroid pass after that. It seems like by the time we got to Saturday and what happened in Pennsylvania, again, no pun intended, but what happened in Butler at the Trump rally seemed to eclipse all talk of the asteroid. Stephen Van Fossen, the details and the synchronicities you found have blown my mind. Well, they've blown my mind too, Stephen. Seriously, it is very weird. In case people are wondering, there we go. Mars Ultor. Okay. Mars Ultor. Look at the pose that he's striking. Mars Ultor, a statue commissioned by Augustus Caesar to commemorate the vanquishing of the assassins of Julius Caesar. Mars Ultor represents the vanquishing of assassins of a national leader. Okay? Look at that pose. Mars Ultor, the vanquishing of assassins of a national leader. Donald Trump on Saturday, a past national leader, wanting to be a national leader again. He survived an attempt by sheer luck on his life, therefore vanquishing the attempt, and he's striking a Mars Ultor pose. What are the odds that Trump knows about Mars Ultor? I don't know. He could. But Sigurd says, regarding Secret Service detail, is it normal for them to ever be shorter than the protected person? It it can happen, not most of the time, for many decades, the agents were males, so you're talking generally bigger and taller, but not all males are, as tall as Donald Trump. Donald Trump is 6'3", I think. And so, you can't always get 6'3" or taller agents on a given detail. But speaking to that, I can tell you, as a former federal agent, as somebody who's worked on protective service details, the agent you see on the left there behind Trump's elbow was just, well, quite frankly, had no business being on that team, period. No business whatsoever. Was not in the proper physical condition. I'm pretty sure she's the one that couldn't find her whole. Wow. If you carry a firearm on your job, like I did for several years, believe me, in the heat of it, you know where that holster is. I mean, it's muscle memory for me, baby. Let me tell you, I can holster that sidearm, boom, without any fumbling around. It's in, snap, it's locked so that my hands are free. Same as on the draw. Okay, I was a federal agent. We get that federal agent training and proficiency constantly. Okay, and these guys, at doing this, the protective service stuff, the Secret Service is like the pinnacle. Okay, that they're the ones who, invented half of this stuff. All right, so that was a dismal flop in many ways, and I think she's also the one that was cowering down behind Trump. That's inexcusable. That is unacceptable. Turn in the badge, go work somewhere else. D. Dorothy Papineau. Many astrologers say the star or planet Argol had an effect and is very rare. Okay, I'll look that up. That's very interesting. Megalithic Yard. His fist almost looks more like sign language than a defiant fist. I know. It was kind of an interesting way he was holding it, which if usually turn the other way. Yeah, it is kind of interesting. It is kind of interesting, but there's Mars Ultor, vanquisher of assassins. There's Trump having survived, vanquished, so to speak, or this is after the vanquishing of the attempt on his life. So, yeah, it's very interesting, very strange. You go back and you look at previous campaigns and you can see an attempt at manipulation of the symbolism in campaigns or election nights and in various things. If you're curious about presidential assassinations that have occult threads in them, oh my gosh, go read King Kill 33, an essay by James Shelby Downard and is it Michael Cole? But look it up, King Kill 33. You'll find it really interesting, I think. There's the site layout. There's the Battle of Carrhae, in which the assassins of Julius Caesar were vanquished. Okay, and of course I talked about the near miss of an asteroid that was supposed to happen on Saturday. So you've got it all. You've got the celestial event. Okay, you got the historical resonance, the rhyming. It's not the same exact layout, but it's interesting. Look at the battle layout. Okay, it rhymes. Now, as far as the deep state MK Ultra aspect, here's the next part that I wanted to make sure I covered. I'm sorry if I forgot to cover this. If any of this was juxtaposed, okay, for optimum, what's the word for it? Optimum exploitation of this symbolism, where might deep state MK Ultra have come in? Now, some people have said in Trump's selection of J.D. Vance, which happened 2 days after this, that Trump had made a deal with the deep state by selecting Vance. Where does MK Ultra come in to this situation? Well, let's look at Crooks, the suspected shooter, the identified shooter himself. Young, kind of made himself a loner, but his parents are counselors, like psychiatric type counselors. Isn't that interesting that his parents are in the mental health industry, both of them, and he falls into the classic lone gunman cliche or trope, role, if you will. Wow. Whenever I think of lone gunman assassins and a connection to any psychiatric professional, I can't help but think of MK Ultra. Okay. Now, what if somebody in the deep state, okay, got access to Crooks and was working his mind? What if he was, manipulated and goaded into going up on that roof, his head filled with BS about how he would be protected, maybe do this thing, okay? And, naturally, we see what happens. Here's the thing, though. There are aspects of this that cannot be controlled, all right? The near miss of Trump. We know this was a real shooting because somebody died. Okay, this was not pretend or play acting. So you have Crooks in a BlackRock ad. Interesting that he's selected to be in a BlackRock ad, and all the interesting connections to BlackRock and stuff that's going on. And his parents are in the mental health profession to some degree. He had been interested in being a military sniper, if I'm not mistaken. I think we should look at the gun range that he was a member of, or that he would go to, because again, as a former federal investigator and somebody who investigates these weird conspiratorial things, I would be looking at all Crooks associates at the gun range he was going to, okay, or the shooting club or whatever, because that would be a logical place for an influence agent to get into his head and work him. Okay. You don't know. A possible scenario is that he was being led to believe that he was being recruited to do something special, to be something special. And this is the problem with psychotics, is that it is easy to manipulate, take advantage of that kind of mental issue. Okay, hold on. Let me go back to where there's some more questions. Philip Blair asked, did you notice that the official Patsy Fall Guy had a Habsburg jaw? No, good eye, I guess. I didn't notice that. Nick Ann asks, did you already cover the particular location? Just got here, Mr. Law. Yeah, I did. Go back and look. You'll particularly like the Mars, Pennsylvania stuff. Maddie S. asks, do you think this was some sort of deep state ritual of sorts? It could be. That's the thing, is it very well could be. Okay? Megalithic Yard says Algol is in the constellation Perseus. Okay. I'm going to follow up on Algol. Jonquille Doré. Yes, the Argol star linked to the beheading of Medusa. Perseus did that. The conjunction was a warning for loss of power to a leader or beheading, even possible fall of sanity. Very interesting. D. Dorothy Papineau, I'm corrected by AO. Algol equals a demonic fixed star or demon. Okay, that's interesting. Arya Bavel, Manchurian Candidate stuff. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed it is. Philip Blair, a YouTuber, thought Trump was subconsciously influenced by black athletes who raised their fists at the Olympics. Well, yeah. That is the way they held their fists. Okay. So remember, folks, you got to think of the synchronicities and things like this, like Egyptian hieroglyphs. They are multi-leveled. Hieroglyphs have different meanings on different levels. They can mean one thing to one person, another thing to another, and yet both of them still serve yet a third meaning. So yeah, it could easily be. That might have been, what popped up into Trump's mind, but still, folks, I want to point out to you, I think the more significant thing is this connection. Mars Ultor, the vanquisher of assassins. Donald Trump surviving an assassination attempt. Mars Ultor, vanquisher of assassins. Donald Trump's pose, survived an assassination attempt. That's, I think, the real thing going on. Ray's Machine asks, do you think his registration as a Republican and not a Democrat a ruse? Well, look, if it wasn't a ruse, I think, look, Crooks was a very confused individual. Don't get me wrong. I say that as a former law enforcement agent. I don't care how confused someone is. If they do something wrong, they need to be accountable for it. I don't excuse criminal behavior just because somebody's confused. There's a lot of people confused out there who don't commit crimes, who don't commit attempted murder. Okay? So being confused, no excuse. However, I think he was young and very, very confused, and forces in his life were yanking at him and pulling him from side to side, and forces in his head. Okay? So, maybe he tried to identify as a Republican for a while and didn't like what, he saw from because think about it, the Republicans, you got the friggin' neocons that have ruined the conservative. They have really tainted representing the conservative cause. Okay. I don't like neocons, and I have not been a Republican in years. Okay. Yeah. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm right of center, but I'm much closer to the middle than the fanatics on the far right. Okay. I have positions that are, some people would say, left of center. Okay. I don't care what people think about that. I'm an individual, but I think this kid was just confused in many ways. And that might be what that was. I don't think he himself was cunning enough to be doing this Republican to Democrat stuff on purpose. Nance Hardwick asks, was it in the eclipse path? I don't know. That's a good question. That's a very good question. Ryan Perella says MK Ultra is completely unaccounted for in the popular media discourse. Of course it is. Of course it is, because that's one of their main tools. I think this kid could have had MK Ultra tactics used on him. Sun Warrior asks, could it have been voice to skull technology, or the so-called voice of God, which I think Jose Delgado, I believe, is the man who invented that technology. There's a patent for it that he got in the early 60s, early mid 1960s, folks. This voice of God, voice to skull technology is a very real thing. Okay, this is not conspiracy theory, fantasy stuff. This is real technology that Sun Warrior is talking about. Sun Warrior, it's a real technology, and it's certainly possible. Therefore, yes, it must be considered. It has to be considered. Okay? Donnie Darko, 727. Thoughts on the prophet on YouTube correctly predicting the assassination 3 months prior? I've just barely heard about this kind of thing, but I direct you to Museum of Tarot on TikTok and I think YouTube. He did a report in which they had 72 or 700. They had a ton of people involved in what's called the Shambhala Project, and they predicted specifics of this assassination attempt last September. Go to Museum of Tarot, check it out. I just saw it right before coming on. So, I'm not going to discount people seeing, having possible flashes of precognitive about this event. Matty S., have you read any of Frank Jacobs' material on the Guardians of the Looking Glass? Could this have been a thwarted evil attempt which leads us on a positive timeline? You know what? You're asking a very good question. You're getting into stuff that I love to think about, love to talk about. Right now, I'm just going to say could have. Yeah, I'm going to say it could have been, depending upon how real what the extent of what you're talking about would be in reality. Lemur Crazy says, and the FBI can't access his phone. Is that true? Were they unable to access Crooks's phone? Wow. Ari Bavel, if he was an activated sleeper, his political position is irrelevant. Exactly, Ari, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not here to discuss the politics of Donald Trump. Whether you like him or don't like him is not part of this discussion. Ari makes a very good point. If we're talking about a young man who was manipulated to do what he did, or let's rephrase that, because I don't want it to make it sound like he was necessarily an innocent victim here. He could have been somebody who was already going down a very bad road, and these prospective hypothetical handlers would recognize that and say, okay, here's somebody who's going nuts. They're there already. Let's just take advantage of this. So that what it could be is the MK Ultra, so to speak, handlers of Crooks could have just, seen a train going off the rails anyway and took advantage of that. So, if he was turned into this, an MK Ultra Manchurian candidate type of assassin, and he was activated, his politics don't matter. He was used to, play his role in a nefarious bit of political theatrical crime. Ray Carr asked, do you think the alignment of the innocent bystanders makes sense? I haven't looked too closely at the alignment of the innocent bystanders, but I will take a closer look at, if there's something odd about that. Definitely. I'm not done looking at this from this perspective, folks. If you've just come in, we're talking about the weird synchronicities between what happened on Saturday and this Roman god, Mars Ultor, who Caesar Augustus commissioned to represent the vanquishing of the assassins of Julius Caesar. Look at the way Mars Ultor, an ancient statue from the days of Rome, look at the position, holds his hand up. Okay, there's Trump moments after having survived a vanquished assassination attempt. This is kind of what we're talking about here, and all sorts of other things. So if you just come in, go back to the beginning of this video and you'll hear all the other, and you'll see the images of all the other stuff I've presented here in this discussion. And thank you for being here, everybody. And I'm still going, not leaving yet. Painting the Sky Kingdom. There have been 3 who predicted this at least. Future forecasting, another guy on the next level, Soul More. Hey, Painting the Sky Kingdom, as I said a moment ago, go to Museum of Tarot at TikTok or YouTube and check out what he said about their Shambhala project. They had dozens, maybe hundreds, of predictions of the specifics of what happened on Saturday with this assassination attempt, and they got all those documented last September. Check it out, Museum of Tarot. It's really, really wild what he says. Mars, voice to skull, not only to confuse the kid, but to give orders secretly. Yeah, right? Once they get into your head, folks, voice to skull is the voice of God technology patented to Jose Delgado in the 1960s. And that's how they can literally transmit voices into your head. This is a patented technology, patented in the 1960s. Imagine how far they've advanced it to this point. Okay? And remember, the shooter's parents were mental health counselors. They're in the mental health industry, so to speak, profession. Why is it that his parents are mental health professionals? Did they not see that their own son had issues, was troubled? Did whoever, possibly, hypothetically, whoever manipulated him, did they meet him through his parents? Could it be that heinous? Or, I say, a thorough investigation needs to be done of all his associates in his gun club or the gun range that he would go to, because there might be where you would find the influence agent, if there was one. Sigurd, chances of it being a temporal pincher movement. If we want to get wild on the time thing, you guys know I like talking time-space possibilities. You know, if you put that on the table, you know, it's an interesting discussion. But you know what? Let me say this, Sigurd. There are more practical possibilities that must be considered first. That's all. D. Dorothy Papineau. Apparently, his parents were looking for him before it happened. Well, yeah, maybe they did see. You know, I'm not dumping on the parents. I just pointing some things out. Soul Light U.S. expat. The 2024 eclipse did go over Butler, Pennsylvania, but not 100%, but like over 95%. That's close enough. Because certainly it also, look, if it went over Butler, it went over Mars, Pennsylvania. Go back, if you're just logged in, go back to the beginning of this video and you'll see the Hecate connection to this, the Mars planet connection to this, and the God Mars connection to all of this. Folks, it's weird. It's weird. CSO2. Have you seen Joni Patri's Vedic astrology predictions for July? Patri hit it out of the stadium. I will check those out. Thank you for the tip. Nick N. We might as well speculate everything here was maneuvered from a Hecate-type level, regardless of what individuals involved. Think about that. Just a thought. Bet you covered that already. No, that's a good statement, though. You're right. It's in the mix of all this is indeed the Hecate symbolism presence right there. CSO2 says Mars conjuncted Taurus in July. Okay. I think I read that one already. Did I accidentally? Donnie Darko 727. Butler, Mars, Kecksburg, Shanksville are all in a line. That's interesting. That's real interesting. Thank you for that info. Jonquille Doré. I just love saying things in the French accent. I think those behind it were using astrology. I doubt the kid would have been aware of the powerful alignment, definitely not working alone. Here's what I think. I think he was the sole shooter that was out there because that's what they wanted to do, was have him be out there alone. He might have been led to believe that he would not be alone, right? And I agree with you. I don't think this kid would, young man, I'm not going to say kid, this young man didn't need to be aware of any of this stuff I'm talking about today, the weird symbolism in any astrology. He didn't need to. That wasn't his role. The people behind his role would have been the ones that would have known about it. Ray's Machine, the Walter Bosley channel. There's a flying saucer landmark and a shooting range in Mars, Pennsylvania. Yeah, I saw a picture of that flying saucer landmark yesterday. A shooting range in Mars. Okay. Yeah, I still want to know who he associated with at his range. So very interesting. For those who have just come on, let me go through the images that I shared here. There's the scene. Okay, the layout. There's the Battle of Carrhae, where Caesar Augustus had vanquished the assassins of Julius Caesar. Look at the layout there. Isn't that interesting? Okay, there's an image of, I started off today with the report that NASA had reported that there was going to be an extremely close pass of an asteroid on Saturday, 13 July 2024, extremely close to the Earth, 100 miles across, 42,000 kilometers per hour. And that was supposed to pass really extremely close, is how they described it, to the Earth on Saturday, but we never heard anything about it. It was real. It was just, was this revelation a method that there was some ritual about to happen on Saturday? Was just the announcement of that and the possibility of that, the announcement, the revelation of method? I don't know. Okay. There's Trump in the Mars altar pose. That's Mars altar, statue representing the vanquishing of the assassins of Julius Caesar. There, of course, is the planet Mars. There's a overview. Now, if you remember the image of the Battle of Carrhae, look at that layout. The enemy was over to the right. The main force was to the center, to the left there. And then the support force was down below. And that's where the Secret Service support force was in the down below position. So it rhymes with the layout of the Battle of Carrhae, in which the assassins of Julius Caesar were vanquished. Okay. So Paul Martin asks, "Hi, Walter. Weapon was reportedly owned by the father. I wonder if the kid cited it in." I don't know. The last report I heard was that the kid, it wasn't a kid, the young man purchased the weapon himself, but I don't know what the very latest is. Maybe. So there we go. Okay, folks, I have time for a couple more questions. Nick N will go with whatever Tiki thinks. Tiki, my dog. I want to remind you, if you're interested in, any of my books, you can go to walterbosley.com, which is right here under my image, and check out Nimza, my latest book. But let's go to a question. Philip Blair, the son of my elementary school psychologist, went to prison for soliciting a minor. I was not surprised. Ari Bavel, did I say 100 miles, the asteroid? I meant 100 feet if I did. Good Lord, 100 miles across would have been devastating on a close pass, even, I heard. I mean, to me, a 20-year-old is essentially a kid. But you know what? In the eyes of the law and the way things are supposed to be, we've determined as a society, as a civilization, that an 18-year-old is a grown adult, a grown-ass adult, as we like to say, and therefore responsible for themselves. So certainly by the time you're 20, look at past generations. Things are relatively different, but then again, the more things change, the more things stay the same. You reach 20 years old, you're supposed to have it together enough to not go off and try to murder people. Okay? Patrick Bateman, I do not know why your comments are not coming in. You might be using keywords that are blocked. Okay? So I don't know what it is you're trying to say or ask, but if you think you're bringing up something that's, particularly if it's not on topic, don't. But you might be, if there's particular things, you might be using some keywords that it just opens up a Pandora's box that, quite frankly, I don't want to deal with. Sigurd, the info on how he got into position seems conflicting. There is a ladder, but then the news reports say he climbed up there on aircon. What do you mean on aircon? Air conditioner. Okay. Well, I saw a picture of a ladder. Oh, also, Patrick, maybe you might not be using keywords, blocked words. If you're trying to use more than 200 characters, it's just going to disappear. Okay, you got to keep it succinct. You got to keep it short and to the point if you're writing something that's too long. And Marie says, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. Funny that he got injured in the ear. Soulite, US expat. Oh, for some reason I try leaving comments under your videos that get removed instantly while commenting on other channels. They don't. Is YouTube blocking me from commenting on just your channel? I don't know, because I'm not aware of you being like offensive or anything. I do disregard trolls. I'm not going to put particularly, some tough talking guy who he's not online even under his own real name. That's really, wow, what a man. But you don't do that, Soulite. You're one of our longtime regulars around here, so I don't know. It might be like this one you just wrote. I think that might be pushing it for the limit of characters. So there we go. Okay, folks. I want to see. I don't want to. If I got any super chats, I want to make sure I acknowledge them and thank you for them. And I don't think I did. So thank you again, everyone in the live chat, for being here. Wait a minute. Paul Martin, Walter got here late. What is your view in a couple of sentences? That there is indeed something very strange going on the esoteric level with the attempted assassination on Donald Trump, the symbolism, the juxtaposition of events, and I'm just getting started looking at it from this perspective. But go back and watch the video from the beginning, and you'll have those questions answered, I think. Philip Blair, is there any synchronicity with the recent attempt of the Prime Minister? Philip, you got me. I admit I don't follow I'm not a news junkie. I used to pay attention to it more, but it's a big world, and I can't, it would be a full-time job for 3 people to be aware of every little thing out there. And I got other things to do. You're welcome, Ryan. Thank you for being here. Well, Philip, you know what I think about NATO at the moment, and how they're being used by our military industrial complex. So, okay, folks. Okay, Patrick Bateman, let me get your question in because you were trying. From Patrick Bateman, Walter, do you think the whole towns could be in on these type of things? No, I don't. I won't name the towns, but where most of them are bad apples. I think what it is there are individuals. See, people tend to think that a conspiracy must involve, actively involve, consciously involve all sorts of people. They say, how can anyone conspire to keep the alien secret when there's thousands of people in the government? And there's no way they could get thousands of people to keep that secret. And BS, you don't need the thousands of people. You just need key individuals in any given structure, okay? And the underlings, the others, don't need to have any clue, okay, to play their role in a conspiracy. So that's a general comment perspective. So no, I don't think the whole towns, unless it's like a small town in one of them creepy horror films, like Horror Hotel. Check that out. Sun Warrior, could the comet Pons, aka Devil's Comet, that was visible on 6-2 have any lingering effects with the Mars connection? I don't know. Again, I'll have to look at that. That's an interesting thread. So, okay. Okay, folks, you know what? I think that's it for today. An hour and 22 minutes of Walter Bosley is enough for anyone. And I want to thank all of you for coming out. This isn't the last that I'll talk about this, but I wanted to put it out there to see what you guys think and to see what else emerges. So again, thank you all. Remember to go to walterbosley.com for NIMSACON tickets. Okay. Believe me, to experience NIMSACON, you have to attend NIMSACON, and believe me, you'll enjoy it if you do. We've already got several people that have bought tickets that are going to be there. There's plenty of room for lots more people. So the more the merrier. You'll get to meet people in the that are here in the live chat. You'll get to meet, me in person, hang out with me and Sesharie and Olaf Phillips, the guy who, our friend who writes about SSP and other very interesting things. And, you'll get to see Dark Journalist. Daniel List is going to be presenting, streaming in, Joseph Farrell and Alan Greenfield. So this is going to be really interesting event. Please go to walterbosley.com for NIMSACON tickets and also for any of my books. That's where, I write books and sell them as a means to be able to continue investigating these things and being able to present what I find in my books. Okay. And, so go to walterbosley.com and check those out. And I think you'll find something that you like. So, okay, folks, I want to thank you all again. And if you're new here, please subscribe and come back. Check out my channel, all the other videos. You'll see the kind of thing I do here. And again, remember today's discussion, not about the politics of who likes or doesn't like Trump. It's about the weird stuff connected to and surrounding the attempted assassination this last Saturday. So you guys have a good night and see you again soon.